Hey everybody, it's your pal Trandell. Welcome back to another Once Human video. In this one, I want to do an update because I honestly I can't even believe it's been almost 2 weeks since the closed beta has started. And I wanted to do an update on my initial review, where the game has gone, now that I have spent so much time in it. I defeated the last available boss that's currently in the game. I am getting ready to move on to the last zones in the game. As you can see, I've got my cradle. I've got all the perks unlocked. I am now starting to work on the perks from the silos. I've got my gear. Most of it is on. I believe yeah, all of it is on tier 4. I've started to unlock more of the gear sets and more of the blueprints. I'm starting to get some of the higher level mods, some of the purples. I believe I also have, one of the golds. So at this point, I have easily spent 100 plus hours in this game, easily over the past 2 weeks. So I think now is a good time to just again look at where the game has gone, look where it's going, where I've been during this whole entire experience, and again just do an update from my initial first impressions view. Overall, I would say about 90% of the game has been 100% enjoyable. I've had a blast. I mean, obviously, if you haven't noticed just how many videos I've been releasing for the game, all the how-to guides, interacting and talking about so many of the different game mechanics and systems, whether it's fishing or farming, base building, build crafting, working with the deviants and how the securement system works. I've absolutely had a blast with the game. It's been fun, or kind of like I said from the very beginning. If I do not enjoy a game, if I don't see myself playing it, if I don't see value in it, I don't make content for it. I don't make content just to chase after clicks or just to chase after whatever's the current hot game in the market. I've never done that. I've only ever made content for games that I myself have bought or played and found enjoyment for. And I've always been very transparent about my thoughts and opinions about games too, because I'm nobody's yes man. I don't shill for nobody. If I enjoy a game, I am open and transparent about why I enjoy it. And if I think there's issues with the game, I am open and transparent about those issues, especially if it's something I do enjoy. If it is a game that I hope prospers and you know more people get into it, if I do see issues, I want to call those issues out because I want the game to get better. I want to get the game to grow. And you don't fix issues by not talking about them. So, to any of my haters out there, yes, there will be some critiques in this video. But for the most part, like I said, 90% of the time I've spent in this game has been absolutely amazing. So let's go over some of the things I talked about in the first video. First of all, the world exploration. I am very happy to report that the world exploration just keeps getting better. Every zone I go to, I keep finding a wide open, beautiful world, kind of like you see right here. Um, there's just so much to see or do and experience. It's just absolutely amazing. I mean, just look at this view. This is an open world. There are no loading screens. Like, literally, the only time I've ever encountered a loading screen is like going into boss dungeons or going into like, story mode, cinematic cut screens. Outside of that, you can literally run, jump, ride your motorcycle, ride your Jeep from one section of the map all the way to the next zone and never encounter a single loading screen. And there is so many awesome things to find and experience along the way. So I am happy to say that when it comes to open world exploration, it's been phenomenal. It's still one of my favorite aspects of the game, and I've enjoyed every moment of it, and it just keeps getting better. There's riddles you can find. There's jump puzzles you can encounter. There's loot goblins, that you can find and blow up to grab their sweet loot. It's been an fantastic, absolutely fabulous experience. So world exploration, top notch. One of the best games I've ever been able to play, that does open world exploration and makes it super meaningful. One of the other topics that we talked about was the crafting system, the gear crafting, weapon crafting, and all of that stuff. And this is going to be one of the areas where there are, a couple critiques. As the game currently stands, overall, the crafting system has been great. I have already started working on quite a few builds. My burn build is slowly getting more and more put together. I've had a blast with that. There is definitely so much potential when it comes to build crafting and theory crafting between all the different weapon types and the weapon passives that you can, receive in the game, between all the different gear sets and those, gear sets that you can use to start planning and theory crafting and putting together builds. That has been an absolute blast, between all the different little tactical items and stuff that we can learn and create on our different crafting benches, from portable assault drones that you can summon, and portable turrets that you can put down, and all the different other little items like grenades and Molotov cocktails. And there's just the crafting system is definitely one of the better ones in any game world I've ever encountered, and it's been fun to interact with and incorporate those into my builds as well. Now, time for some critiques. Unfortunately, and to any of you that are familiar with my channel, there are some issues I'm starting to see as players progress, as they get higher into the game and higher into levels, and some of them revolve around one single source in the game, and that's acid. Acid definitely starts to become an issue as you get more into those higher zones, more of the and see, this is where it gets difficult, because we don't know exactly where we are so far in the game. Are we still in early game? Are we in mid game? Are we heading towards end game? None of us really know. But I am starting to see a trend where more and more items, as you get deeper into the memetics tree, they start all requiring one resource, which is acid. And it definitely starts to become a strain, especially since there are no reliable ways to farm acid. Now, all the trolls and haters that I've already, been having to ban off my channel, they'll all just say the same thing. Oh, just don't use guns. Just use a bow. If you just use a crossbow, you won't have to worry about acid. And it's like, I don't even bother trying to explain it to these people because, again, trolls are going to do what trolls do. But that's a perfect example of something has gone wrong in your game. If your players are ignoring every other weapon in the game, because, I mean, look how many different weapon types we have. If your players are ignoring every other weapon type in the game because they don't want to deal with one resource, something has gone wrong. You need to take a step back and go, okay, wait a second, what's going on? We're noticing everybody's using crossbows. Or here's another thing I keep on hearing from the trolls. Oh, just go farming and just kill a bunch of zombies. That you won't have to worry about it. Oh, but don't forget to use a crossbow. Seriously. Again, if you're having to only use one weapon type so you can grind the resources so you can use the other weapon type, that's not good game design. That's bad game design. When your players are actively avoiding using every other weapon in the game because it's a chore to get the resource to craft the ammo so they can use those weapons, something's gone wrong. And this is the other weird thing about acid too. Acid is in like this really weird limbo state where you can get it from scrap like you do the other items. But here's something else in case any of you have never realized this. Let's say you're running low on a certain scrap material, whether it's, standard parts, rusted parts, some of the crystals, some of the fabrics. Well, all you have to do is find a town or a stronghold, and it will tell you that, hey, if you go to this place, like the furnace layer right here, these are some of the materials that you can find there. You can find these materials there. And depending on where you go, you can find different ones. Let's say you don't need the plastic beads. Let's say you just need mostly fabrics. Well, you can run this place. And this place will have a higher probability to get those scrap materials. Same thing with this. Oh, look, there's vegetables here. I need vegetables. This place has vegetables. Or down here. Oh, I need some of these hinges. I can just go down here and farm this place, and I know I will walk away with hinges. Oh, I need, some of the barrel rods or some standard parts. I can just go here and farm this location, and I know I will get these parts. Are you noticing a pattern here? There are rewards, there are towns you can go to for every other scrappable item and resource in the game, except for one: acid. You will not find acid listed on any town or any stronghold. It is the only scrappable item that you cannot reliably farm from a location like you can every other single scrappable item in the whole entire game. And not only that, but is the only resource that so far players start using from level 1 all the way up. And not only that, but it's the only resource that keeps getting more and more items added to it as players progress, as players get deeper down into the memetics tree. And that's the issue I had, was the fact that this one resource is the only resource of its type. And the only way, now here's a caveat to this, there is one way to reliably farm acid. But that has to do with workshop defense, and workshop defense is a PvP category of content. The moment you start a workshop offense is the moment you are instantly put into PvP. There is no other content, there's no other PvE content that allows you to reliably farm acid like the workshop defense, outside of just mindlessly grinding enemies and hoping for, RNGesus to smile down at you and you get some decent drops. That definitely needs to change, because it's just not fun. It's not enjoyable, and not only that, while it is sustainable currently, we don't know how far this memetics tree goes. We don't know how many more tiers, how many more recipes, how many more items might be added to that ever-growing list of items that require acid. My concern is if they keep on adding more and more items that require acid, once we get to the end game and a large majority of the items available in endgame all require one resource, acid. That's all players are going to be doing. It's just farming and grinding for acid. That's not fun. That's not enjoyable. I don't want to spend, 2 hours a day of my game time, because some of us do have lives. Some of us are adults with things called jobs and families. I don't want to spend 2 hours a game session just mindlessly running around killing the same zombies over and over again, or mindlessly doing the same silos over and over again just to farm one resource. So I'm hoping later on, either A, they will give us a way to craft acid. Perfect example, something that I've talked about before during some of my actual civilized discussions with people on my YouTube channel. Let us use something like portable fuel. We know where to find it. We just have to gather it from cars. There's still some work you got to put into it because, again, you have to run around and find cars to gather it from. But at least it's a reliable source that we can use, that we can plan around to gather that portable fuel so we can turn that into acid. Or another suggestion I've had is, since PvP players already have the whole stronghold battles, frontier battle system to fight over resources, turn the workshops into PvE content. Let it be group PvE content where, let's say, somebody runs to a workshop, they got a permit, they can start the workshop, and it creates a public event where other people can join in. And depending on how long you're there and how much you help during the workshop defense, you can get some resources with, the person that originally started the workshop using their permit gets a little bit more since they used their permit to start the workshop defense. I think that would be an amazing way to give PvE players the opportunity to farm acid while also incentivizing cooperation, meeting other players, working with other players, getting players together, because this is something else that a lot of my viewers have mentioned and that I've seen in other discussions. The game world can be kind of dead at times when it comes to social interactions with people. You really don't see many people working together at times, outside of, spamming chat, to do a region boss, a great one. You don't always see people getting together, but since acid is such a valuable resource, that would be a public event that would draw players together so we can start seeing each other more in world, so we can start working together with each other more in world, in world events and stuff like that. So that could be another option to give players a more reliable source of a very valuable, resource like acid. The other issue that I am starting to see with crafting, and especially the blueprints, is the wish machine. I have never been a big fan of gacha mechanics. I don't like them in other games, and I don't like them in this one. But, and I know this is going to tick off some people, my biggest concern with the wish machine is the ability for it to be used and abused in a microtransaction shop. Now, before any of you start going off, but they've already said there's not going to be any pay to win aspects. They've already made that perfectly clear. Unfortunately, no, they have not. And I'm actually going to pull up the website so we can all look at it together. So this is the actual website, and this is the actual line right here where they talk about not having any pay to win aspects in the game, and for the cash shop to be primarily cosmetic. And that's also one of the things that kind of concerns me, is that whole our main form of monetization will be focused on cosmetic purchases. And this is the problem. And this is why some people, and I've also had this discussion with other content creators in Once Human. This is where some of us get really concerned, because here's the problem with that sentence. Right now, if we go ahead and close this, right now, the form of currency that you use for the cosmetic shop is Starchroms, which just also happens to be the same form of currency that you use to gamble for blueprints in the wish machine. And that's what has some of us concerned. How can you say, hey, we're only going to have something and it's only going to be cosmetics, but right now we're seeing a currency that can be used both? Now, as long as they do not put Starchroms into the microtransaction shop, we have no issues. Everything's fine and dandy. But if Starchroms are added, and if Starchroms are a currency that they sell in the cash shop, then yes, that is 100% pay to win. Then you are able to spend real world money to learn blueprints and create better, more powerful gear. And that is 100% the whole entire concept of pay to win. If they put Starchroms into the cash shop, it's pay to win. And that's what some of us are worried about, because so far there is one currency being used both for the wish machine and for the cosmetic shop. So either A, they need to make two forms of currency and they need to make a totally separate currency for the wish machine, or B, they cannot add Starchroms to the cash shop. If they add Starchroms to the cash shop and they're still allowed to be used for either the wish machine and buying blueprints or the seasonal shop, then it's pay to win. And the other reason why this worries me is because, having talked with other content creators that have played earlier versions of the game, this wish machine and this whole gacha system with blueprints, this is new. This is not how it used to be in the game. Was it still harder to get blueprints? Yes, but you could also reliably farm them and get them without having to deal with gotcha mechanics. So there are some reasonable reasons to be a little bit worried when it comes to the Starchroms and how they're currently both being used for cosmetics and for getting blueprints and better gear in the game. So hopefully that will change. Especially since I don't know why I keep on hearing the words looter shooter used by every other content creator, it seems like. This game is not a looter shooter. You do not get weapons or gear when you kill enemies. You craft weapons and gear. This isn't like the Division 2, where if you kill an enemy, it can drop a fully functional LMG or a sniper rifle that you can immediately pick up off that enemy and start using. That's not what this is. This isn't like, Borderlands or anything else that are actual looter shooters where when you kill enemies, you can actually get gear and weapons to drop off those enemies. No. At most, you can get resources that you can use to craft weapons from blueprints that you either find in mysterious chests or by gambling in the Gatcha system. So, yeah, I'm not sure where the misunderstanding about what a looter shooter is or is not, but this is not a looter shooter at all. And I myself may have said that during my first video, which is why I want to bring it up. Having spent so many days in the game and actually making it towards where the current quote unquote end game is, this is not a looter shooter. You do not get gear, you do not get weapons by killing enemies. And that's another reason why the Wish Machine and the Starchroms are a little bit concerning. So hopefully, either A, they make it super clear that no, Starchroms will never be in the cash shop. You will never be able to use any cash shop currency for the Wish Machine. Or B, they make two separate currencies where, maybe Starchroms can be used for in-game stuff like the Wish Machine, and they'll make another currency that's out of game for things like the seasonal shop, the cosmetic shop. But that is a valid concern that a lot of people are having, especially players from the previous betas, because this system is a new system. This is not how it used to be. So hopefully they don't go down that route. There are quite a few games that have been able to survive perfectly fine with purely cosmetic purchases. One example that I've used in the past, which I think is a great example, is games like Path of Exile. Path of Exile, since the very beginning, has never once sold any type of pay-to-win currency or items or anything. You have never been able to buy like a unique weapon from their cash shops or anything. It has always been cosmetic. It's always been things like wings for your back or different armor sets that are purely cosmetic. If this game does that, it will be perfectly fine because the game is fun. The game is enjoyable. There's a lot of mechanics, there are a lot of systems in this game that just work. They work well. They synergize together, whether it's the world exploration or the crafting or the build crafting and all the different ways we have to make builds to find a play style that's enjoyable for us. Or whether it's the boss fights, having, completed all the boss fights. The boss fights are fun. I love how engaging the mechanics are. I love the fact that you actually have to think during the boss fights and pay attention, and it's not just, going there guns blazing and, absolutely no thought processes or tactical reasoning is involved. The boss fights have been really well done. They've been a joy to interact with. There is enough in this game that people will be more than happy to spend money on cosmetic items without having to stoop to selling in-game power. So hopefully that is something where the developers do not go down that road, because it'll be a waste of a perfectly, fun game that does not need any of that stuff. So those two things are my main critiques so far when it comes to the game. The third one being more of annoyance right now, but one that I can definitely see causing some issues, and it already has caused some issues already. And that's with the Echo messaging system. Now, this has already caused enough issues once. Oh, yeah, they're back again. This has already caused enough issues once that the developers have already changed how the echoes work in the game, because it was causing all kinds of performance issues with rendering and stuff like that. So they've already changed it once because it was causing performance issues. But I can also see it causing some other social issues too, with how players interact, whether positively, which for the most part has been the case, or negatively. And that's my concern, is as of right now, players can put pretty much whatever they want into these. And the fact that we can also add images to it from the game, it can definitely be used in more nefarious, toxic ways. And since this is an MMO and not a single player or small co-op game, social aspects of the game matter. This is, again, one of the things I talked about, the chat system and the Hive system. Two things that are unfortunately not unchanged and haven't really improved that much. There's been some improvement on the chat side of things. Messages will actually go through now most of the time. And you can actually send friend messages to people without them never going through, just to show up 10 hours later and being multiplied by 10 to 20 times one message. But the chat system still needs to be revamped. The Hive system is still very small. It's very limiting. Only having 4 spots for people in your Hive, that kind of sucks. Again, especially if you play other games, kind of like how I mentioned during my first review. I played the Division 2. The Division 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I have tons of my guild mates in the Division 2 that I think would absolutely love to play this game. And I would love for all of us to play together. But unfortunately, we only get 4 freaking spots in our Hives. And that needs to change, because that's a very limiting aspect that can drive some people away, especially, again, those people that are already in guilds in other games and they just want their whole entire guild to play another one. Well, now if I wanted to play with all my guild mates, we would have to make multiple different hives, and even then we wouldn't still be able to work together cohesively unless we are in a war band. But the war bands don't have the same type of social interaction options that the hives do. We can't all have the same Hive base and stuff like that, and it just needs to be reworked. But, these are all things that can be changed. It's still closed beta. They're still easily, because I believe it was supposed to, I think they're looking at a third or fourth quarter of next year to actually do the release. So there's still plenty of time to make some improvements, to take a second look at things and just go over things more, especially since the fact that for large portions of the game is already fun. There's already so many working game loops. There's already so many working game mechanics that are already enjoyable to play. It's just some of these littler issues, and especially some of the more concerning ones like Starchroms, that does have quite a bit of the community kind of, concerned. So hopefully in that, next 8-9 months until, the third or fourth quarter of next year, hopefully Starry Night and NetEase will figure some of those issues out, resolve them, or in the case of the Starchroms, make it perfectly clear in writing that no, this will never be the fact. Period. End of discussion. And like I said, maybe make a separate currency for the cosmetic shop and not have the cosmetic shop share the same currency as the gacha machine, because that is definitely unnerving to see that. So that's it. Again, 90% of my time in this game has been amazing. I love it. I've been making tons of content for it. We've grown a awesome, wonderful community so far at my YouTube channel. I love all the appreciation I've gotten for my how-to guides on farming and fishing and base building and everything else. And I wouldn't spend the time and effort to make all those in-depth guides about a game that I honestly did not enjoy. I would not have played every single day for the past 2 weeks to get through all of the content in the game, to experience all the bosses, if I was not having fun. Again, the newest season of Path of Exile came out, and I need to get in there because that shit looks amazing. So I would not be doing this if I was not having fun. I would be making content for Remnant 2 or The Division 2 or, Path of Exile or something. I make content because I believe in the game. I make content because I enjoy the game, because I see promise in the game. And I make content because I want the game to grow. I want it to get big. I want people to learn about it because it's a fun game and I want to spread the word. But that does not mean I do not get to make criticisms, especially when they are actually based on numbers and actual issues, like the fact that you have a seasonal shop and a gacha machine that shares one currency. That's concerning. So a lot of people, myself included, do have a valid reason to be concerned about pay-to-win aspects when the cosmetic shop is sharing the same exact currency as a gacha machine that sells blueprints for better gear and weapons. So, as I said from the very beginning, I will be transparent about that. If there is something that I find concerning and I think might be a problem, I'm going to talk about it. And no amount of trolling will keep me from that. Because at the end of the day, I want my community members to be able to trust that I'm not just going to mindlessly shill for whatever is the hot game out there right now. They are going to be able to trust me when I say I enjoy a game is because I actually play it. I don't make 1 or 2 videos just to get clicks, just to jump on the wagon and never go back to the game again. I've put in my time. I've put in my dues. I've cleared all the content. I've beaten all the bosses. Because I have fun. Because the game's enjoyable. And I see great promise and hopefully a very bright future. As long as NetEase and Starry Night can stick to their word and not, put in pay-to-win aspects. I think this game can have an absolutely amazing future ahead of it. And, that's where we are. 2 weeks later, that's the update. Thankfully, the game has still blown me away in so many aspects. It's still an absolutely fun and, enjoyable experience. And I hope everybody gets a chance to, either get into this closed beta or to future betas. So they can also experience the game too, because it really is a gorgeous, fun world to run around in and explore and to interact with. So that's the video, folks. As always, thank you. I appreciate you all. It's been a journey, and like I said, I can't believe that it's already been 2 weeks, and we're already like halfway through the season, I think, now that I say, yeah, we're already on step 4 right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing how, the rest of the season plays out. I'm looking forward to any other, new mechanics or things that they might introduce to the game. And again, I see a very bright future for Once Human if they keep on going down the path they're going. And as long as they don't get greedy, I think this game could absolutely blow up. So, as always, this is your pal Trandell. I love and appreciate you all. Thank you so much for all the growth of my channel, for coming along on this ride, for all the awesome comments and the thank yous about my how-to guides. Until next time, everybody, please take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And this is your pal Trandell signing out.